Hi everyone, this is Michael from JamOnBread.io, and today our guest is Jimmy from the Stag Alliance. Jimmy, welcome on our channel.
Thank you. Glad to be
Cool.
here. Same.
As always, we've got 10 questions ready, so let's jump right into them, shall we? Question number one. Could you give us a 30-second overview of the Stag Alliance?
Sure, okay. So we are building a fantasy world. The fantasy world is called the Elder World, and the Stag Alliance and the stories about all of the characters are involved in the Elder World. Now we're going to build the Elder World into a household brand like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, the Marvel Universe, and our collectibles will capture the value of that fantasy world.
Nice. All right. Now let's have a look at question number two. What utility comes with owning those NFTs?
Okay, so first of all, whenever we talk about utility, I like to remind people that often utility is used synonymously with something more like value. When people ask what utility the NFT or token or anything will have, really what they're asking is what value will it have? And often they are talking about the kind of value that comes as a function of supply and demand. So really, I like to talk about what demand will there be for the NFTs. And it comes down, first of all, to collectability. We're creating a fantasy world that we intend to be one day as big as something like Lord of the Rings, something as big as Pokemon. And if you look at the highest selling Pokemon cards, they're over $1 million. So there's massive demand for them, for the collectibles. Secondly, as well, what's really interesting with NFTs, with tokenization, with Web3, is you can add on to it. It's not just a Pokemon card. There's all sorts of potential value that can be attached to that token, that NFT, that artwork. And so a good example of that would be that we are currently in talks with a law firm, and we're looking at how we can legally and sustainably share revenue with our holders. The problem is we could never promise that before we have the legal strategy in place, because that could backfire in the long run. So one of our goals is to continually add, this utility, which would be something like a revenue share. But our main goal is also increasing the pure collectability, which is, some people would consider a utility, but they wouldn't usually consider it in that direct way. So we feel like we're coming at it from both angles.
Nice. Let's have a look at question number three. How did you come up with the idea, or was there anybody else who helped you?
Yeah, okay. So Ashley is the first so I guess the OG founder of the project. That's Ashley there, yeah. Ashley brought me in a few months later. But first of all, the idea of stags came, or rather he liked using the idea of stags for building a brand, because stags have very positive connotations all around the world. Stags are a strong and majestic animal, and they operate as a herd, just like a community. And Ash thought it would be a great idea to build a brand around that. And then our ideas for the project evolved over time. So as the project exploded, we realized that there was huge potential for a fantasy brand here. And we worked together to come up with those ideas. And I would say the idea for the Elder World itself, there wasn't one particular thing that helped us come up with the idea, but it was probably a culmination of our love for fantasy, our love for gaming. I spent so much time on RuneScape when I was younger, and I love writing fantasy. I've written millions of words of fantasy unpublished, and I would say the Elder World came from that. So we have the Stag Alliance and the Elder World in one big idea.
What is the team behind the Stag Alliance?
Okay, so we've got a nicely sized team, and it's ever growing to fit the needs of the project. Essentially, you have myself and Ashley, who are the founder and co-founder. And then we've got teams for essentially developing our pillars of value, I would call it. So our one major pillar of value is the community growth. And so for community growth, we've got a campaign that we call guilds. And our mods have recently been promoted to guild generals who will lead the community in creating value. So, we have 4 guild generals currently, and they cover things like our marketing and communications. They cover things like the social gamification, research, knowledge, which is great to be able to lead a community team in that way to create value. We've also got a great lead developer. His name's Mark. He works on the Eternal wallet, and he's currently building our gamified platform, which is looking awesome at the moment, and I'm loving how that's developing. We've got a concept artist for our lore and general fantasy concepts, and we've also got a game design artist called Joshua, who's designing the Elder World platform graphics, and you'd be able to see some previews of that on our Twitter and in our Discord announcements. All of that's looking incredible too. And then generally, we have social manager. We've got our mods who act as mods as well as the guild generals. So we've got a nicely rounded team.
Cool. Okay, thank you for the introduction. What was the greatest obstacle?
Okay, so for us, I would say there have been several massive challenges which we expected. Although some of them were definitely more challenging than others. So probably the biggest one would be launching in a bear market, launching one of the leading NFT projects, while overall market sentiment was incredibly low. That was difficult before Mint because we had to manage community expectations really well. We had to make sure we minted with enough capital to deliver everything we said we would, but also minting at a fair price that reflected the current market sentiment, which was incredibly difficult, and we had to manage that well. Now, for me personally, and I'm sure the rest of the team would also agree, launching in a bear market and then having a low overall sentiment across the whole of crypto makes it incredibly difficult to retain community confidence. So straight after the launch, there was I guess a lot of uncertainty like you have in a bear market, and managing that as a team and keeping our community confident, that was a serious challenge. Overcoming that obstacle was really difficult, and something I'm extremely proud of is we managed to do that over 3 months since Mint. We now have an incredibly dedicated and passionate community. For example, not yesterday, 2 days ago, we launched a social gamification initiative called Heroes of the Herd, and we already have 200 active users who are engaged in social gamification, which in a bear market is incredible.
Definitely. By the way, are you currently above your mint price? You are, right?
I believe today we just went over mint price, which again in the depths of a bear market is always good.
Oh yeah, definitely. Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. So what outcomes are you proud of the most?
Okay, so I guess first of all, I'm proud of everything we've done. We definitely haven't done everything perfectly, but one of our core values is continual improvement and persistence, and we've shown that literally continually from the beginning of when we launched the project all the way through to now, and we will beyond. We'll keep improving things, and I'm proud of everything we've done. But some of the highlights would be Ash and I featuring on BBC News, on the BBC News Global channel, and it was shown as well on BBC One or BBC Two, which would have been, so I'm told, an audience of over 2 million people. So we talked about NFTs to an audience that wouldn't really understand them. And we also talked about Cardano and the positives of using a chain like Cardano, which where crypto has a general misplaced consensus of energy inefficiency. We were able to talk about things like energy efficiency of Cardano. And that was great. That was in front of millions of people, which was amazing. Also really proud of minting in the bear market and being able to maintain and build the community sentiment to the point that now we are over our mint floor price. So quite good so far. We're proud of both of those things.
Cool. I think for the Cardano community, you're kind of like a pop star. I don't know if anybody else would have such a great exposure to the general public as you have.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it was 5 minutes of fame to that extent, but our intention is to continue with small wins like that. You know, you get small wins over a long period of time, or big wins. You know, and it really pays off in the long run, and it's just a taster of things to come because this is 3 months in, and we've got plenty more time to get more and more of these wins.
Great. What can we look forward to in the next 12 months?
Okay, so next 12 months, we've got many exciting things coming up. I would say the thing I'm personally most excited about, because I'm writing the literature, is us publishing novels on Amazon. So publishing literature on Amazon, and that literature will range between novellas and novels. And we are using that fantasy literature to draw in fantasy lovers from beyond the CNFT space. So we've always said our major goal is to create a household brand for fantasy, and one of the major routes for that will be this fantasy literature, which is based in the Elder World. Some of it is about the Stag Alliance itself, and then some of it goes much beyond the Stag Alliance, like sword and sorcery and epic fantasy, things that would appeal to general fantasy consumers, fantasy readers. And then to complement that as well, all the gamification we're setting up is going to be in a role play style. So we're releasing a gamified platform that's based in the Elder World, and that gamified platform is technically it's multi-platform because it converges between our social gamification, our Discord, and the web platform we're building. And that's going to be really exciting because it will allow fantasy lovers and allow our NFT collectors to engage in fantasy role play. And we feel that makes the fantasy world more tangible, you know, being able to collect resources, being able to craft items, being able to battle for treasure or battle for drops and loots. And then even more exciting is the higher level, the rarer, or rather the rarer items achieved in game. People are going to be able to mint those and trade them on the open market. So there's going to be all sorts of interesting collectible economies coming out of that game, where people are, I like to say, establishing their legacy in the Elder World. You know, there'll be people crafting rare items in the Elder World and owning them outright, which will be really exciting.
Awesome. Cool. Now let's move on to question number 8. Are you hiring or are you looking for help?
Okay, so we're always growing. It seems we're adding new members to the team all the time. One thing I really like is when a community member or anyone who's interested in the project looks at the project and identifies how they can create value. You know, if someone comes to me with an idea for how they can create value with the project, how they can, you know, give the community something they want or help the team improve in some way, I love it when that happens, because I've been doing that all my life with businesses of all sorts of type and style. And, you know, even when Ashley came to me with this project, it was simply to write the law. But then, having been involved in crypto and NFT for a long time, I managed to bring value to the project and actually recognize that. And, you know, we increased the involvement. Now, I would say to anyone who wants to get involved, we'll soon be launching or releasing information about our guilds. And our guilds are the teams that are going to kind of be a hybrid between community and core team, and deliver projects, or we'll call them quests, but we'll deliver projects with the team. And that's an excellent way to get involved in the project. And in that sense, we are continually hiring, because the guilds will always be open to opportunities, and we will start releasing information about which opportunities are available. But also, don't be shy to come up with your own opportunities. We're willing to listen to all of them, because that's how we're going to achieve exponential growth, continual growth.
Yeah. Great. All right. And now we are coming to the personal part, which is, tell us something personal, please.
Okay. People are often surprised to hear that I'm a boxing coach. I was coaching one of the top universities in the UK, was coaching their boxing for many years. I think I was involved in that club for about 7 years. And before that, I've been in and out of boxing for 20 odd years. A lot of people find that quite surprising, maybe because you don't see many writers and boxers in the same I guess space, or whatever you would want to call it. And interestingly, I've found that boxing has many characteristics and analogies for success in almost anything. So I found that really interesting, applying the things you learn in boxing in, for instance, my journey in crypto, which required a lot of persistence, a lot of mindset shifting, a lot of turning up every day, even when you don't really feel like, training. And also in this project as well, the kind of needing and willingness to continually learn, fully apply yourself to everything you're doing. If you don't apply yourself in the boxing ring, it goes terribly wrong. And in the same respect, the analogy with non-physical things like a project like this, you can learn a lot from it. So I've really enjoyed looking at how these things relate and applying them.
Completely understood. Whenever someone asks me what were the 2 greatest lessons you got and that helped you in your life, I always reply it would be playing World of Warcraft and doing sports. Those 2 things I think taught me the most. I needed for life.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Well, World of Warcraft's its own life anyway, isn't it? That's what I loved about I played RuneScape, not World of Warcraft, but learning about economies, trading and finding the quickest way to earn the most gold points and things like that was.
And also there was a lot of cooperation with other people, and like how to get a healthy relationship within your guild, which is basically what you are doing right now.
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, and now last question for today's interview. What is your final suggestion for the audience?
I think the main thing I would probably suggest, especially to people watching this kind of video in the bear market, if people are watching this kind of video, they are probably quite committed to the crypto sphere, to the NFT sphere. And if I could give someone who is new or uncertain in this space advice, I would probably say, make sure that you are as patient as possible. So in a bear market, things can look extremely bleak, and sometimes you can even question whether crypto is a scam or NFTs will make it out of the next or out of this bear market. And I'm personally confident the answer is yes, because I went through all of these doubts in the 2018 bear market. And back then everyone was extremely worried, is crypto actually dead? Because genuinely it felt like it was way quieter than it is now. So if you can take a patient approach to anything you're doing in this space, whether you're a project leader, team member, or you are simply an enthusiast who's looking for opportunities, researching, being patient, not jumping into anything. And then once you find something you're confident in, for instance, hypothetically, say it was the Stag Alliance, what you want to do is, once you are confident, try and ignore the noise, ignore the FUD, ignore the small comments that might make you doubt yourself. Think critically about it, be patient about it. And then generally, if history repeats itself, which it often does, and of course, this is not financial advice in any way possible. I'm just giving advice on or a suggestion for how I navigated the last bear market. Once you're confident in something, generally it will pay off to be patient with it. And that would be that.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your wisdom and for the information you provided to our audience. And we wish you the best of luck. And we are going to hopefully talk to each other again in a couple of months and catch up on your progress on Stag Alliance.
Sounds good. Yeah, look forward to it.
Cool. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.